set up. And I don't think the Nation of Islam did that. Although even Farrakhan said they helped set the scene. You understand? But I believe it's the same people that killed Martin Luther King. It's not no mystery. You know what I mean? So that's what we have to live. We have to live with the fact that even though we have a black man, some people say, well, he only got elected because his mother was white. All American presidents' mothers was white. But still, the struggle is far from over. That's my last point. And you have to learn what Malcolm did. You understand? You have to learn what he did. Actually learn what Malcolm did. And understand what he means by the ballot or the bullet. If you ain't ready to shoot them people in the White House and shoot them people down there at Bloomberg and them people, then you have to wait to get rid of them.
BC would not have been made possible without the uprising that we made in this country. And one of the chief leaders and instigators of that resistance movement we're honoring today, Malcolm X. And many of us, I'm born and raised in Harlem, and I didn't know anything at all about myself or my history. And many of us had a lot of problems, you know. If you were good looking, you were light skinned with blow hair and all that stuff. Don't sit there like you don't know what I'm talking about. And we didn't know anything at all about our history. And it wasn't until years later that I began to really feed off of the methodology that physicians use. You go to see a doctor and you've got an ailment that's causing you a lot of trouble. If the doctor doesn't know you, he'll have you fill out a questionnaire which gives you a case history. Have you ever had mumps and all that kind of stuff? And then the doctor will look at it, and the doctor says, well, we're going to run some tests on you. We're going to look at your blood pressure and all these other facets in your makeup. And then the doctor says, okay, now let's go into the treatment room. And the doctor will tell you that based on my examination, you have X disease. And this is what you're going to have to be given. I'll be finished soon. And the doctor is able to make an effective prescription. And unknowingly, growing up in Harlem, as wonderful as Harlem was at the time, and still is under duress, there were constraints that we were all subjected to. There were certain things that you didn't say, and there were certain things that you didn't do. And Dr. King came along, and he was magnificent as an orator. I'd never heard a man speak like that. And he quoted from the Bible. He spoke up at the Convent Avenue Baptist Church, and that's where I heard him. And he picked me up, and he shook me by the scruff of my neck and began to wake me up and make me think about a lot of things. And then there was this man who we're talking about today named Malcolm. And he was working in the Harlem community. And he was saying some things that really were scary to many of us Negroes. He said some severe things. And I remember he was saying that we don't smoke cigarettes with or without a label on it. And at the time, I would smoke a cigarette, you know. And he said, we don't eat pork. And I love me some ribs. And we don't drink alcohol, and I'd have me a taste now and then. He said, and we don't practice fornication. I said, I'll see you later, brother. We were not aware that we were being conditioned to have a new value system. Because he had done his homework, he was a scholar of history, and he knew how we got our disease, who did it, what the virus was, and how it has been kept alive, and what the antidote had to be. So some of the things were hard for us to digest, but over a long period of time, and we're still doing it, we're digesting what this genius of a man was giving us. And soon after that, I found myself hired at ABC, not because of any gifts that I had, that they were aware of, but there was that pressure that we were putting on this country. It made this country look bad on a global basis. And so I got myself positioned where I'm working now, and it was soon after that that this program, Like It Is, was born. And I made up my mind, based on what had been aroused in me by Malcolm and many others, but principally the centrifugal force of my awareness, self-awareness, was what this man had really given, because he had a way of shaking you, and waking you up. And I made up my mind that I was going to really devote my career to telling the story of our people. And they wanted to call the program The Way It Is, and I said no. And that's how we got our real name, Like It Is. And I've devoted myself to trying to do what that medical practitioner does. We have a serious affliction and disease, and we've got to really lay out and understand our case history, how we got it, under what circumstances, what your diet may be, what had happened to us. And then out of that, we can begin to prescribe a cure. Many of us are still undergoing that process of growth. And one of the things that was made clear to me is that the educative process had to be anemic when it came to us understanding our history and all of that. And so I've made my business to tell the story and chase down men like Amri, who's shorter than I am, but I look up to the brother. And many, many others. I was lucky enough to be involved with music. And our young people today, I worry about many of you, because you don't know the magnificence of our artistry that we produced, and also the manner in which they carried themselves. Charlie Parker and Dizzy. They were majestic in the way in which they carried themselves and spoke about politics. And so we have a lot of therapy to undergo before we can really regain health. And to reinforce my thoughts, while we have been struggling down through the years to find a way so that we can have a modicum of justice, we have been uninformed or relatively ill-informed about the diligence that those who have opposed us from the very beginning have expended in study of us. What happened to us, how it happened, all the circumstances, diet, they did their homework before they set foot on a slave ship to come across the Atlantic. They had done their homework. And that's why they were able to pull it off. How to break